Welcome to RickRackRuby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will make this vintage lace standing snow mom. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make the vintage lace snow mom, we start with the pattern. I'm going to describe this pattern at the end of the video so that I don't bore you with the details. But it is created on a regular piece of 8.5 by 11-inch graph paper. So at the bottom, you're going to place this straight edge on a fold of medium weight iron-on interfacing. That's what this is. So I have this piece of iron-on interfacing, and I'm going to use wool batting for my snow mom. You can use cotton batting, you could use fleece, you could use muslin, you could use even like an off-white tone-on-tone fabric if you like. I like this wool batting because it has a certain loft, and therefore when I stitch, it creates dimension, and it's just kind of fun and interesting to see the slight variations in texture. So I'm going to iron this onto my wool batting and then cut it out, and I'll be right back. There are two important reasons why I want to line this with iron-on interfacing, with fusible interfacing. And number one is because whenever I stuff it, I don't want it to stretch. I want it to hold its shape. And the other reason is because I'm going to embroider the face, and I don't want those threads to show through to the front. So it's important to understand that the bottom of the snow mom will be boxed out. So she'll be sitting like this, and a certain amount of this, this area at the bottom will not show. So I like to kind of remind myself that we don't need to decorate anything down here. I'm going to call this the front. This is the front. And this is the back. So I usually start with a piece of all over lace. Here, there's a lot of different kinds of lace that'll work. This is kind of stretchy. It was actually a garment. And I like the finished edge to be around here at the back. We're only going to decorate a little bit of the back. So this would work. I would pin that and then bring it around to the front and kind of cut it off and trim it about right to here. There's one option. This one is pretty. This is another option. And again, this finished edge I would put in the back about halfway up this section, and then wrap this around to the front and cut it off at some point. I probably center this little bouquet. That would be really pretty. This type of lace will work. This is sort of an embroidered net. Also, an eyelet would work, but I think this is the one I decided I will use. So again, this finished edge will be in the back. It'll be about halfway up like this. I will pin it and wrap it around to the front, which is this section. Maybe just above these motifs, I would cut that off. And I think that would be just right. I'm going to take the time to sort of center this and make sure everything is straight. And I'll pin it, and I'll be right back. My lace is pinned, and once again, this half is the back. And you might wonder, well, why does this have the pretty edge? Because the back is only going to get this lace. The front is going to get an entire collage of lace, and this is just the background. So I'm going to go over to my sewing machine. I'm just going to do a little zigzag all the way around this edge. I've stitched this, and I wanted to show you that when I cut off this little edge, this is the kind of thing that I will save for my nests. This will work great for the nest. So this is the front, and I have kind of determined what I want to do. This piece happens to be just the perfect length. So I'll try to line up this right with the center, this diamond here. And then this piece is a little bit heavier or thicker. And I will put this right here. And I'm keeping in mind that this section right here is going to be on the bottom. You won't see much of this, maybe about 1/2 inch. So I'm comfortable with overlapping this. This one, I think I'm going to put right at the neck. I know that I'm going to do like a scarf around the neck, so I don't need to put the decorative edge at the top because it'll be concealed. So I'm going to put the decorative edge down at the bottom. But first I'm going to squeeze this in between, so it'll be like this. Kind of figured that out, and I think that'll be good. So I'm going to go to my machine and stitch, 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 stitch. My lace collage is complete. I've just zigzagged around the edge of these individual pieces, and remember this is the back. I have my needle threaded with a double strand of quilting thread, and I'm just going to go through these buttons probably twice, all the way across. I'm holding it with my left thumb and just stitching through. My needle is kind of fine. I can see that it's bent. And yeah, I think that's enough. Maybe 3 times. I'll go through. Let's embroider the face. The most important thing is to keep the features below the center of the face. So where it goes out like this, consider that the center. And then I'm not going to actually draw a line, but I'm going to make a little indication about 1.5 inches down. So I want my features to be below the center. It seems a little weird right now, but once everything comes together, you'll realize that that is the right placement for the features. I'm going to mark just sort of like indicators. I'm not going to draw the features in, but I'm just going to sort of indicate here's where the nose will go, here's the eyes, and then here's the mouth. And then I'm going to make a little smiley mouth like this. So we'll start with the eyes. I have 3 strands of black embroidery floss, and I'm going to make this angled bar with 3 long stitches like this. 3 strands of floss, 3 stitches just stacked on top of each other. All about the same length. They don't have to be perfect. They can be, you know, a little bit irregular. But there we go, something like that. And then the magic that adds the personality is we're going to add a 4th stitch, which begins up here above the eye, and then crosses over, sort of slants like this. So it starts above and ends below like this. And you can see how that just adds a little bit of personality to the eye. Now I will repeat for the 2nd eye, just a stack of 3 stitches. It's a satin stitch. Then for the 4th one, you start up and then you cross over and go a little bit longer. That looks pretty good. The eyes are not identical, but I think they look good. So I'll tie off the floss in the back. For the nose, we'll make a carrot nose. I have 2 strands of embroidery floss, orange. And again, I'm going to do a satin stitch, but I'm kind of tapering it down to, you know, to shape like a triangle, like a little carrot. And I don't try to make these stitches solid. It's okay if they're a little broken up. The face is relatively small in relation to this entire head piece. The face is a little bit small because when you take in the seam allowance and then you have the dimension of the roundness after it's stuffed, it'll be right. And maybe one more. That looks good. And now I'll secure the thread in the back. For the mouth, I'm using 2 strands of red floss, and I'm going to do a couple of lazy daisy petals like this. There's the loop. Then I'm going to catch the loop here. So there's the first part of it. And then I'll do one on the opposite side. It makes sort of a little heart. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then the third lazy daisy will go straight down. All 3 stitches about the same size, the loops. This doesn't have to be straight down. In fact, if it's a little off center, it's really cute. Nice. Now I'm going to do a series of French knots to create a smile. Oh, this is cute. I don't usually mark them, but I think I'll do 3 on each side. I'm going to wrap 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and then reinsert my needle. So there's the first knot. I think I'll make this one a little bit closer, maybe more like that. 1, 2, 3, reinsert. And of course you can make any kind of face that you like. You can make little black knots, which will look like coal. But I wanted to give this character more feminine features. Now I'm just going to go on the back. I'm just going to send my thread back through. And then I'll do the 3 on the opposite side, on the opposite cheek. About right here. 1, 2, 3. We are going to blush her cheeks, but we'll do that later, after she's all stuffed. Sometimes if I put the blush on too soon, then when I'm turning, the blush will rub off on another part of the project. The face is done, the lace collage is done, and so now I'm going to fold these together, pin, and stitch just with a straight stitch all the way down each side. Now I've stitched up the sides. You can see it a little more easily on the back. And to box out the bottom, I'm going to clip the seam allowance, being careful not to cut all the way through the stitches. And I'm also going to trim this inner curve right here. I'm just kind of clipping it on both sides. And so now to box out the corners, I'm going to open it up like this, pin it. When I say open it out, I mean I'm opening up the seam allowance right there. Pin it, and then I'm going to stitch across this way about 1 inch in from the corner on both sides. Here's how it looks. And so I'm going to trim off these corners and turn our Snowmom right side out through the opening in the top of the head. I left this open, and I'm going to turn it right side out, and then we're going to stuff it. It's been a long time since I had to buy these poly pellets. I really like them for stuffing just the bottom part of the Snowmom. But this is completely new packaging. I've never seen this before. I've always had to use a funnel. So let's see how this works. It just has an opening here, and I guess you just pour them in. It works pretty well. I think a little more. I think there's probably about 1.5 cups or 2 cups in there. And now I'm going to use Poly-fil to stuff it to the top. Here she is. She's stuffed nice and firm, nice and smooth. All the curves are smooth, and now we're going to gather up the top of her head. So I'm going to tuck that stuffing in and just do a running stitch. So I have a double strand of quilting thread, and I have a knot in the end. I'm going to gather this up about 1/4 of an inch from the top edge. I'm going through the single all the way around the circle, like this. I like to start and end at a seam allowance so there's something firm for the knot to grab onto, and also for me to secure the thread at the end. So now I'm going to tuck the seam allowance in like this, pull it nice and tight. And you can see how, even though it seemed like I was putting the face down very low, it winds up in the right spot once you get this all done. So I'm going to secure this thread. Her head is gathered up securely at the top, and now we're going to make her hat. I use my die cutting machine to cut 2 ovals from black velveteen. These ovals are about 6.5 tall and about 4 3/4 wide. The kind that I used is from Spellbinders, and I love these. I cut 2 ovals from black velveteen, and then I removed about 1.5 inches from the bottom. I sewed them together, right sides together with black thread. Now I'll turn this right side out, and I'm going to tuck in this raw edge until it's about, the hat is about just half of the oval, about like this. I may put a little bit of Poly-fil inside, but I'm not sure yet. Let's see how it fits. Ooh, she looks kind of like Napoleon. So I think I will Put a little bit of stuffing in the top, and then I'm going to roll the edge of the front. I know this is all black, so it's hard to see, but here, I think you can see better if I put my hand inside. So I'm going to roll the brim in the front up a little bit and just leave the back long. So kind of like this. I'll put some stuffing in, and then I'm going to roll this up in the front only. So I put some poly-fil in there, and I'm going to place this hat over her face and then fold up the brim so that it's just above her eyes. And then that looks good. I'm going to pull it down a little more in the back, and then I'm going to pin it and kind of tack it to the body, to the edge of her face. I have a double strand of regular sewing thread in black to match the hat, and I'm just going to take pretty large stitches here to secure the hat all the way around. Okay, now I'm back around to the back center, the bottom of the back center, and I'm going to add some trims. Here's some black tulle. It might actually be very dark brown, but either way, I like it. I think this is a little bit wide, so I'm going to cut it in half down the center. I think this will be right. So I'm going to put the center of this tulle at the back and then tie a knot right here. Okay, that's good. I'll secure the back. Like this. And I think that's probably all I need. Okay, but I'm not cutting my thread yet. Let's trim this like a cute little bow. And then I have this vintage hat. It has these kooky flowers that I like, so I think I'm going to use one of these. My paper scissors right here. Yeah, I'm gonna like that. Let's see if I can find some kind of a rhinestone button or a pin. Ooh, how about that? That's a good one. Oh, it's an earring. I don't know if that's gonna work. Maybe. I like it. In the back here, and then I'm going to just leave this clipped over the tulle, and then I'm gonna hot glue that in there. I like it. Okay. While I'm waiting for my glue gun to heat up, I'm going to blush her cheeks. This always adds a lot of life to any project. I just have regular cosmetic blush on a Q-tip. And then we're going to give her a scarf. I have two options. This one or this one. This came like this. It just had the ends of it stitched into points. And then this is just I don't know, it's a filet crochet. It's a little small for a pillowcase. I'm not sure what it was for. It has flower baskets. So I think this one would be nice. It's just about the right length, and I'll make a better knot, but it would look like that. Like that. And then the other one is long enough that I think I can make it into a bow. I think I like this one because this lace is too much like this one, and this one is completely new. It gives a little bit more variety, and also because of the shade of white. There we go, the flower is glued and the bow is tied. I love it, it looks really cute, and I'm gonna say that this project is done. Now I will describe this pattern for you. I started with a piece of graph paper that's 7 inches wide and 10.5 inches tall. And I folded it in half. Now the important thing is to start with a straight line up here. Remember how the head comes together at the top? And then gently roll out and in, and then gently out and then straight down at the end. So that goes straight down. This from here to here is about 1 7/8. So fold it in half, 1 7/8. This is about 1 3/8, and it's 3 1/4 inches down. And then this slant out to here is from the top, make a little mark about 6 3/4 here, and that's about where you're aiming from the neck. It's important, it doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but the important thing is to leave this at the top and then gently curve out and in. You don't want to go in too far, you don't want to go in too short. And the same thing with this. Just a gentle curve out. Once you do a seam allowance, you know, you're coming in quite a bit, and so there's a lot more of an angle on the neck once you do the seam allowance. So just keep it nice and gentle. And it doesn't have to be exactly like this, and remember the bottom is on the fold, and you're going to cut this from the iron-on interfacing. You can do this. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.